Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack the complexities of our world into digestible, fascinating insights for you.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving into a topic that, well, on the surface, might seem like just a massive pile of paperwork. Bureaucracy at its finest, maybe.
It can certainly feel that way sometimes.
But trust me, by the end of this deep dive, you'll see it for the meticulously crafted, surprisingly dynamic backbone of global commerce that it truly is.
Absolutely.
I mean, imagine trying to orchestrate a multi-million-dollar transaction across continents without a clear instruction manual. Or, moving tons of goods without a consistent way to track them.
It'd be chaos. That's precisely the challenge that international trade documentation solves.
It's absolutely foundational, isn't it?
Completely. Without the correct, precise paperwork, goods simply cannot move across borders. Payments, they don't get secured, and the entire intricate dance of global trade just grinds to a halt.
So this system ensures everything from, say, a tiny microchip made in Asia
To a huge container of textiles from South America.
reaches its destination efficiently, legally, and most importantly, reliably.
Exactly. Reliability is key.
That's why we're here today, to take a deep dive into the often daunting yet utterly essential world of export-import documentation.
It's more fascinating than it sounds, promise.
It really is. This isn't just about endless forms, it's about, well, ingenious solutions to really complex problems. Our mission today is to unpack the Aligned Documentation System.
The ADS.
Right, the ADS, and explore the crucial documents that facilitate this international dance. We'll break down their objectives, their strategic advantages, and the intricate details of commercial, regulatory, and payment-related paperwork.
Highlighting those key facts and figures that often come up.
Exactly. You'll walk away not just informed, but hopefully with a deeper insider's understanding of the mechanisms that power global commerce. So where do we begin this journey?
Well, to understand the modern landscape, we really have to start at the beginning, with the Aligned Documentation System, or ADS, as you said. What's truly fascinating here is its origin. It was a really visionary step that fundamentally reshaped global trade. This concept, it was first initiated by Sweden
Sweden. Okay. When was this?
back in the mid-1960s.
Mid-60s. Wow.
Yeah, it was a monumental effort for the time, trying to standardize and simplify what was, back then, just an administrative nightmare.
The mid-1960s. You really have to picture the world then, pre-digital era, right?
Absolutely. No widespread computers, no EDI as we know it.
So I'm imagining every single country, maybe every company, having wildly different document formats.
You've got it. It must have been a chaotic mess trying to reconcile all that paperwork.
Yeah.
Piles and piles of disparate forms on desks.
So what was the real problem Sweden was trying to solve, and why was their foresight so impactful?
That's exactly it. Chaos. Imagine a typical trade transaction back then involving, I don't know, maybe a dozen different forms. Yeah, each with unique layouts, different information fields, maybe inconsistent terminology. The same basic data, say, the exporter's name or the port of origin would have to be typed, or maybe even handwritten.
Oh, handwritten. Imagine the errors.
Exactly. Multiple times across all these different documents. It wasn't just tedious, it was an open invitation for errors, delays, customs holdups, even outright fraud.
Right.
Sweden recognized this enormous friction point in international trade. Their foresight was proposing a common template, you could say,
Yeah.
or a blueprint that could be universally adopted.
So creating a common language for documents, almost.
Precisely. A common language for information before computers could even really speak it properly. It really made the transition to electronic data interchange, or EDI, much smoother decades later. They laid the groundwork without even knowing it, in a way.
That's a truly visionary insight from the 60s, realizing that standardizing paper could streamline a physical process and, yeah, inadvertently prepare for digital transformation. So what were the core objectives of this ADS? How did they actually aim to achieve this simplicity?
The objectives, well, they seem simple today, but they were revolutionary back then. First, the system aimed to allow information to be entered on an easy basis. Think like single entry, multi-output.
Enter once, use many times.
Exactly. Second, it was designed to allow access to information with greater convenience. If every document shares a common layout, finding specific data, like the value or the quantity, becomes much faster for everyone involved. Customs, banks, everyone.
Makes sense.
And crucially for the physical world of the 60s, it mandated that documents related to exports are printed on uniform length in standard A4 size paper.
Ah, the A4 standard, that came from this.
It was a key part of it. It might seem minor now, but standardizing on A4 was a huge practical step. Think about printing consistency, filing, storage, even the early stages of optical scanning later on.
Consistency is key. And here's where it gets really interesting for that single entry concept. The information is entered into two key documents, Master Document 1 and Master Document 2.
That's right, the master documents.
This concept sounds like a critical shortcut. Can you walk us through how that physically reduced redundancy and errors in a paper-based system, and maybe how that principle lives on today digitally?
Absolutely. In the physical system, these master documents acted like a sophisticated template. Imagine Master Document 1 containing all the common commercial data names, addresses, product descriptions, quantities, payment terms, etc.
All the stuff that appears on multiple forms.
Exactly. Then you use something called a masking reproduction technique.
Masking reproduction, how did that work?
It involved placing various specific commercial forms like an invoice or a packing list over the master document. But these forms had specific parts masked out or covered. So when you copied it using early photocopiers or duplication methods, only the relevant common information would transfer onto that particular form.
Ah, like using stencils almost.
Sort of, yeah. It essentially allowed you to generate multiple different forms from a single typed master input. This dramatically reduced typing.
Which cuts down errors.
Hugely. And it ensured consistency across all those documents. The name was spelled the same way everywhere. The address was identical.
And this principle lives on digitally, right?
Absolutely. It's precisely what underpins modern digital systems. You enter customer or product data once into a database or ERP system.
And it populates across all the linked digital forms, invoices, shipping labels, customs declarations.
Exactly the same principle. Fill once, use many times. The ADS pioneered that logic decades ago on paper.
So it was a clever pre-digital version of that. And the power of these master documents sounds quite impressive. I read that an exporter, with the help of Master Document 1, can develop 14 out of 16 commercial documents. That's almost all of them.
It's a huge chunk, yeah.
Right.
It demonstrates just how widespread the applicability of the ADS principles was within commercial transactions. 14 out of 16 commercial docs from one master.
Incredible efficiency.
And it doesn't stop there. With the help of Master Document 2, 3 of the crucial regulatory documents can be developed.
Okay, which ones are those?
These are the GR form, which we'll get to later, related to exchange control, the main shipping bill of export document for customs, and the port trust copy of the shipping bill.
So even some of the official government-required forms could be generated this way.
Right. This is where the shortcut truly comes to life, ensuring not just commercial efficiency, but also easing regulatory compliance with minimized effort. This consistency across multiple vital documents leads to substantial time and cost savings across the entire supply chain. It benefits everyone involved.
It's really about reducing those friction points, isn't it? Making the whole process smoother.
Exactly.
And that leads us nicely to the main advantage of this system. It's all about entering data quickly and reading them with ease and speed. Why are speed and readability so critical in international trade? What happens if things get slow or confusing?
Oh, the consequences can be severe. Delays at customs, for instance, mean goods just sit there in port. That incurs demurrage charges, basically, daily penalties for storage, and they can add up incredibly fast.
Right, eating into profit margins.
Big time. And errors. Errors can lead to misdeclarations. That can result in hefty fines, seizure of goods, or even in some serious cases, criminal charges in certain jurisdictions.
Wow.
And beyond the direct financial costs, there's the damage to your business reputation, lost sales because you missed delivery deadlines, and just strained relationships between trading partners. Nobody wants that. The ADS was fundamentally designed to mitigate these risks by making the process as streamlined and error-proof as possible for its time.
And what truly gives ADS its global weight, making it more than just a, say, Swedish initiative, is that it's based on the UN layout key.
Yes, that's crucial.
That signifies international consensus, right? How does a universally recognized layout like that build trust and facilitate smoother cross-border transactions?
It's absolutely critical. The UN layout key provides a globally understood framework. When customs officials, say in Brazil, receive a document based on this layout from an exporter in Germany,
They know where to look for the key info.
exactly, they immediately know where to find the shipper's details, the value, the origin, regardless of the originating country or the language to some extent. This reduces ambiguity, speeds up processing significantly, and minimizes the need for costly translation or interpretation just to understand the form's structure.
It fosters predictability.
Predictability and professionalism, yes, which is really the bedrock of trust in international commerce. It effectively means everyone is speaking the same document language, which is essential for reducing friction points and potential disputes in complex cross-border trade.
So beyond this core efficiency and international standardization, what are some of the broader advantages of the ADS that ripple through the entire trade ecosystem?
Well, there are three key advantages worth highlighting. First, it effectively dispenses with conventional repetitive documentation preparation. As we discussed with the master documents, once that core information is entered correctly once,
You can generate many other documents.
right, using that masking reproduction technique. This was a huge leap in efficiency compared to individually drafting or typing each and every form from scratch over and over again.
And that masking reproduction technique, to be clear for everyone listening, it was essentially a physical workaround, right? A master sheet with all the data, and then different forms laid on top with specific windows or cutouts.
Precisely. So only the specific common data needed for that particular form was visible and could be copied or printed. It avoided manual reentry and the errors that come with it. It was quite ingenious for its era, really anticipating digital solutions by decades.
Clever stuff. What's the second advantage?
This, in turn, makes forms both easier to complete and easier to assess. Because you're using that master document principle, there's inherently less room for discrepancies and inconsistencies between related documents.
So it's quicker for everyone in the chain.
Much quicker. From the exporter preparing it, to the customs officer assessing it, the freight forwarder checking it, the bank processing it, everyone can verify the information faster and with more confidence because it's consistent across the board.
Consistency builds confidence. Got it. And the third advantage.
The beauty of a standardized system like ADS is that the benefit truly extends to all parties in the international trade chain. It's not just the exporters saving time.
Right, everyone benefits.
Importers get their goods faster with fewer hassles. Customs officials can process shipments more efficiently. Banks can handle payments more securely. Shipping companies have clearer instructions. The whole chain becomes more efficient. It's a true win-win for global commerce.
If we connect this to the bigger picture then, the ADS isn't just about individual forms, it's about creating an entire ecosystem of predictable, efficient information flow.
Exactly. It supports global economic activity. It's like the silent architecture, the unseen plumbing, that allows billions of dollars of goods to move around the world every single day.
That really grounds our understanding of ADS. So from this blueprint, this system, it seems logical to start segmenting the sheer volume of documents into their core purposes. What are the big buckets these documents fall into?
To truly make sense of the vast array of documents, the aligned documentation system classifies them into two overarching categories. This is a fundamental distinction: commercial documents and regulatory documents.
Commercial and regulatory. Okay, this raises an important question. What's the core difference between these two pillars? When would you use one versus the other, and what kind of authority does each carry?
That's a critical distinction to grasp. Commercial documents, at their heart, are about driving the trade transaction itself.
The business deal.
Exactly. They're generated by the parties involved in the sale, the exporter, the importer, maybe their agents, the shipping line. They pertain to the goods, their value, their movement, the payment terms. Think of them as the business language of the deal.
Okay, and regulatory.
Regulatory documents, on the other hand, are dictated by government bodies and authorities. Their primary purpose is to ensure compliance with national laws, international agreements, import-export controls, health and safety standards, foreign exchange rules, all that official stuff.
The rules of the game.
Precisely. They represent the rules that every participant must adhere to in both the exporting and importing countries.
So one facilitates the deal, the other ensures you're playing by the rules. Let's dive deeper into commercial documents first. These are all about facilitating the trade transaction itself.
The objectives of commercial documents are incredibly clear and fundamental to any successful trade deal. They are designed to achieve three primary goals. First, to effect the physical transfer of goods, getting them from A to B.
Or logistics.
Second, to transfer property and title of goods from the exporter to the importer. That's a significant legal step, confirming ownership.
Let's go ownership.
And third, and arguably most critically for the exporter, the realization of export proceeds, making sure they actually get paid for what they've shipped.
Right, getting the money. So logistics, legal ownership, and payment. Those three objectives really encapsulate the entire life cycle of an export sale.
They really do.
And it's a significant number of documents we're talking about here. Within the export documentation framework, I understand there are 16 commercial documents in total.
That's the standard framework, yes. 16.
And thanks to the ADS principles we just discussed, 14 of these are standardized and aligned with each other.
That's right. 14 out of 16 follow the ADS layout, which shows a high degree of standardization for such a complex area.
That's impressive adoption. And for further clarity, these commercial documents are then classified into subcategories.
Yes, to help us prioritize and understand their roles. Principal export documents and auxiliary documents.
Principal and auxiliary.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about the must-haves first. The principal export documents. These sound like the 8 core documents without which the deal simply cannot proceed. They're the bedrock of the transaction.
Exactly. These 8 are pretty much non-negotiable components for most standard export transactions. Can I run through them quickly?
Please do. And maybe just a quick why for each being principal.
Sure. First, the commercial invoice. That's your main bill for the goods, crucial for customs valuation and demanding payment.
Main bill. Got it.
Second, the packing list. Details what's in each package, essential for logistics, customs inspection, and the importer checking. We got everything.
What's in the box? Okay.
Third, the certification of inspection quality control. Confirms the goods meet the agreed upon standards. Vital for buyer confidence and sometimes mandatory.
Proof of quality.
Fourth, the bill of lading or similar transport document like an airway bill, though the BL is key for sea freight. It's a receipt for the goods, a contract for carriage, and critically, a document of title for sea freight. Hugely important.
Receipt, contract, title. The big one for shipping.
Fifth, shipping advice. Basically, telling the importer the goods are on their way, shipment details, ETA, etc., keeps them informed.
Notification of shipment.
Sixth, the certificate of origin. Proves where the goods were made. Essential for determining import tariffs and eligibility under trade agreements. Can save the importer a lot of money.
Where it's from for tariffs.
Seventh, the insurance certificate policy. Absolutely critical, especially if the contract is CIF cost, insurance, and freight. Protects against loss or damage during transit. Someone has to bear that risk.
Insurance coverage. Crucial.
And finally, eighth, the bill of exchange. A formal demand for payment, especially used in documentary collections or LC transactions.
The payment demand. Okay, those 8 really do sound indispensable. Each plays a unique, critical role.
They do. Without them, the transaction stalls or worse, collapses.
Then we have the auxiliary documents. You describe these as the helpers or supporting cast. While not principal, they sound vital for initiating steps or providing extra details. What are some key examples here?
These include documents like the pro forma invoice, which actually comes before the commercial invoice. It's the initial quote or offer.
The pre-invoice, okay.
There's also the intimation for inspection, which formally requests the quality inspection agency to come and check the goods.
Kicking off the inspection.
Shipping instructions from the exporter, telling the freight forwarder or shipping line exactly what to do, booking details, handling requirements, etc.
Instructions for the carrier.
The insurance declaration might be needed to activate the coverage under an open marine policy.
Activating insurance.
We also see things like shipping orders, which confirm booking space on a vessel. The mate's receipt, which we'll discuss more, acknowledges goods received on board the ship before the bill of lading is issued.
The pre-BL receipt.
The application for a certificate of origin, the form you fill out to get the certificate of origin. And finally, perhaps a letter to the bank for collection negotiation of documents, instructing the bank on how to handle the payment process.
So these auxiliary docs really grease the wheels, making sure the various stages of the trade flow smoothly and leading up to the principal documents.
Exactly. They lay the groundwork and provide necessary supporting information.
Okay, moving on to the second big category, regulatory documents. If commercial documents are the language of the deal.
These are definitely the rules of the game, mandated by governments.
Right. Explain their core purpose again.
Regulatory pre-shipment export documents are those prescribed by various government departments and bodies, customs, central banks, port authorities, inspection agencies. Their entire purpose is to ensure compliance.
Compliance with what specifically?
With the myriad rules and regulations under relevant laws governing export trade. This is where national interests come in things like export controls on sensitive goods, ensuring proper revenue collection through duties and taxes, adhering to international agreements on trade or environment, and managing foreign exchange reserves.
So messing these up could have serious consequences.
Oh, absolutely. Misunderstanding or incorrectly completing these can lead to severe penalties, seizure of goods, loss of export licenses. It's serious business.
And in terms of quantity, how many are we talking about for pre-shipment?
Typically, there are around 9 main regulatory documents associated with the pre-shipment stage of an export transaction.
9. And how many of those are standardized under ADS?
Out of those 9, 4 have been standardized to align with ADS principles. So there's still a bit more variability here compared to the commercial side.
4 out of 9 standardized. Okay. Can you give us some concrete examples of these regulatory documents and maybe mention the authorities prescribing them?
Certainly. For instance, you often need a Gate Pass 1, Gate Pass 2 for physically getting the goods into the port premises or moving excisable goods. We'll touch on those again.
Gate passes, okay.
The ARE1 form is crucial for clearing goods subject to central excise regulations, especially when exporting without paying domestic duty. This form actually replaced the older AR4 and AR5 forms.
Area 1 for excise, got it.
The shipping bill of export, which we mentioned under Master Document 2, is a key customs declaration document. That one is standardized.
Shipping bill again, okay.
Yeah. Then there's the Export Application Doc Challen. This is standardized and prescribed specifically by the port trust authorities for managing port operations. Along with that, you'd have the receipt for payment of port charges, which is also standardized, proof you've paid your port dues.
Port authority forms, makes sense.
Critically, we have the exchange control declaration forms. The main ones are the GR or PP forms. These are standardized and prescribed by the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI.
Ah, the RBI, for monitoring foreign exchange.
Exactly. Absolutely vital for the government to track export earnings coming into the country. We'll definitely cover those in more detail later.
Okay, GRPP forms from RBI. What else?
You might also need a freight payment certificate as proof you've paid the shipping costs, or an insurance premium payment certificate as proof of insurance payment, sometimes required for specific regulations or financing.
Okay, proof of payment for freight and insurance. That makes sense. And that shift you mentioned from older forms like AR4, AR5 to the newer ARE1 for excise, that's a good example of how these systems aren't static, right? They evolve.
Absolutely. Documentation systems are dynamic. They get updated constantly to streamline processes, adapt to new trade policies, incorporate new technologies, or close loopholes. It's an ongoing process.
Now that we've understood the two major categories, commercial and regulatory, let's group these documents by their specific function and delve into the specifics of each. Let's start with the documents that literally describe what's being shipped.
Sounds good. Let's look at the documents related to the goods themselves.
All right, let's kick off this section with a crucial document that often acts as the very beginning of the trade journey, the pro forma invoice. Now, for our listeners, rather than just seeing it as a simple detailed menu, how does the pro forma invoice function as a critical pre-contractual negotiation tool?
That's a great way to frame it. The pro forma invoice isn't just a quote, it's the exporter's formal offer. It lays out the proposed terms, description of goods, quantity, price, payment terms, delivery schedule, validity period, maybe estimated shipping costs.
So it sets the stage for the actual contract.
Precisely. For the importer, it's vital. It allows them to see the potential landed cost, maybe use it to apply for an import license or quota, or critically, to arrange pre-shipment financing from their bank. The bank needs to see what the deal looks like before committing funds.
So it's used even before the final contract is signed?
Often, yes. It allows both parties to align expectations before a binding commitment. Any lack of clarity here, maybe an ambiguous product description or an unstated charge, can cause major headaches and delays down the line, even derailing the deal before it properly starts. It's the first real test of clarity between buyer and seller.
It really sets the stage for everything that follows then. Okay, so after the pro forma, assuming the deal moves forward, the most central document detailing the goods would be the commercial invoice. This is the seller's actual bill for the merchandise.
Correct. This is the demand for payment.
Its role as the document of contents is often highlighted. Can you elaborate on why it's considered the linchpin, the absolute core document?
It is indeed the linchpin. It contains all the essential commercial details in their final agreed form, full names and addresses of the seller, exporter, and buyer, importer, a comprehensive and unambiguous description of the goods, quantity, unit price, total value, the currency of sale, the agreed payment terms like LC, open account, etc., and the delivery terms like FOB, CIF.
All the key deal points.
Everything. It's called the document of contents because most other export documents, the packing list, the customs declaration, the insurance certificate, even parts of the transport document draw their core information directly from the commercial invoice.
So any mistake here ripples outwards.
Exactly. Any discrepancy between the commercial invoice and, say, the packing list or the bill of lading can cause major problems. Customs delays, issues with bank payments under an LC, disputes with the buyer. It has to be accurate and consistent with the contract.
And why do certain countries like Canada, the USA, and Australia have special invoicing procedures? What makes them different?
Yes. These countries, and sometimes others, often require specific formats or additional information on the commercial invoice beyond the standard details. This is usually due to their specific customs valuation methods.
How they calculate import duty.
Right. Or because of stringent import regulations designed to protect domestic industries, ensure fair competition, or enforce specific product safety, labeling, or technical standards. They might require extra fields like manufacturer details, specific cost breakdowns, or conformity statements, all presented in their prescribed format to help their customs officials accurately assess duties and taxes or quickly identify goods subject to particular trade rules or restrictions.
So exporters need to be really careful about the destination country's specific requirements.
Absolutely. One size does not fit all when it comes to commercial invoices for certain destinations.
That level of specificity underscores the importance of getting every detail right. Moving on, we sometimes encounter documents that add an extra layer of official endorsement. The consular invoice and the legalized invoice. Why do some importing countries insist on these? What's the point?
These documents are essentially an extra layer of governmental validation or authentication, originating from the importing country's representatives in the exporting country.
So the importer's government gets involved before shipment.
In a way, yes. They're often required by countries where there might be historical concerns about fraud, like over or under invoicing to manipulate duties or capital flight, or a desire to strictly control imports or ensure goods meet very specific national standards before they even arrive.
Okay, so how does a consular invoice work?
For a consular invoice, certain importing countries demand that the exporter's commercial invoice be presented to their consulate, their diplomatic mission located in the exporter's country. The consulate reviews it, maybe checks it against other documents, and if satisfied, signs and stamps it with an official seal.
Is there a fee?
Oh yes, the exporter typically has to pay a consular fee for this service, which can sometimes be quite substantial. And these are generally prepared in 3 copies.
3 copies. Where do they go?
Typically, 1 copy is retained by the consulate for their records. A second copy is sent directly by the consulate to the importing country's customs authorities, giving them advance notice and verification. And the third copy is returned to the exporter to include with their shipping documents.
That multi-copy process ensures the importing government has early visibility and validation.
Exactly. It adds a layer of official verification that the goods, their value, and the transaction details are considered legitimate by their own representatives before the goods even ship.
And the legalized invoice is a similar concept, right? Just maybe a different name or specific countries.
Yes, very similar in purpose and process. Certain countries, particularly some in Latin America, like Mexico, for example, might specifically require a legalized invoice, which is also obtained through their consulate or authorized mission stationed in the exporter's country. Both consular and legalized invoices primarily serve to add that extra layer of authentication and compliance. They act as a pre-screening mechanism.
Right, an extra hurdle for the exporter, but potentially more security for the importer's country. Then we get to the specifics of what's inside the boxes with the packing note and packing list. These sound similar. What's the practical distinction?
They sound similar, but the distinction is vital for accurate logistics, customs checks, and especially for the importer when they receive the goods. A packing note refers to the contents of an individual package.
So 1 note per box.
Essentially, yes. If you have a shipment of, say, 20 cartons, each carton might ideally have its own packing note inside or attached, detailing exactly what items and quantities are within that specific carton. Useful if the importer needs to find a particular item quickly without opening everything.
Okay, granular detail. And the packing list.
The packing list is a consolidated statement or master list covering the entire shipment. It details the contents of the total number of cases or packs. It lists all the individual packages, their marks and numbers for identification, maybe their dimensions and weights, gross and net, and a summary of the contents across all packages.
The big picture overview.
Exactly. The packing list is crucial for the carrier to plan loading, for customs to potentially select specific packages for inspection, and most importantly, for the importer to perform a receiving check, reconciling what was ordered against what has physically arrived, ensuring nothing is missing or damaged across the entire consignment.
So heading note for inside the box detail, packing list for the whole shipment manifest. Makes sense. And sometimes even the standard commercial invoice isn't enough for customs. They need their own specific format. This is where the customs invoice comes in.
Precisely. When the commercial invoice information has to be presented on a specific form or format explicitly prescribed by the customs authorities of the importing country, it's designated a customs invoice.
So it's basically the commercial invoice data, just rearranged.
Often, yes, but sometimes with additional specific fields required only by that country's customs. It's not just about the general information. It's about presenting that information in a precise structure that aligns perfectly with their internal systems and regulations. This helps them automate duty assessment and speeds up clearance.
And you mentioned earlier this is common for places like the US and Canada.
Yes, the US and Canada are well-known examples that often require specific customs invoice formats for many types of goods. It really reinforces the point that compliance often means fitting into the importing country's specific bureaucratic mold, regardless of the exporter's own standard documentation.
Exporters need to be prepared for that adaptation. Finally, in this section on goods documents, we have the incredibly important Certificate of Origin, often abbreviated as COO. This document specifies the country where the goods were actually produced. Why is proving provenance so critical in global trade?
The COO is absolutely crucial, primarily for tariff and trade policy reasons. Its main purpose is to allow the customs authorities in the importing country to determine whether the goods qualify for preferential tariff treatment upon arrival.
Preferential tariffs meaning lower import duties.
Exactly. Many bilateral or multilateral trade agreements exist where member countries offer reduced or even zero import duties on goods originating from other member countries. Without a valid COO proving the goods originate from an eligible country, the importer would likely have to pay the standard, usually higher, most favored nation, MFN tariff rates.
So the COO directly impacts the final landed cost and competitiveness of the goods.
Massively.
Yeah.
It could be the difference between a profitable sale and an uncompetitive one.
And I understand it's required for availing concessions under specific preferential schemes like Commonwealth Preferences, CWP, and the Generalized System of Preferences, GSP. Can you briefly explain what those are?
Certainly. CWP, or Commonwealth Preferences, is a historical system, less prominent now but still relevant in some contexts, offering preferential tariff treatment for trade between Commonwealth nations. GSP, or Generalized System of Preferences, is a much broader system where developed countries unilaterally grant reduced or duty-free entry to certain products originating from eligible developing countries. The aim is to boost those developing economies by making their exports cheaper in developed markets.
So GSP is a development tool, in a way.
Yes, it's intended as such. For both CWP, GSP, and other free trade agreements, FTAs, the COO is the essential key for the importer to unlock those potential tariff savings. Without it, they pay the full rate.
And who issues these certificates of origin? Can the exporter just declare it themselves?
No, typically not for preferential purposes. COOs usually need to be issued or certified by an independent authorized body in the exporting country to be considered valid by the importing customs. In India, for instance, this authority is often granted to bodies like the Chamber of Commerce, various export promotion councils specific to certain industries, and other trade associations that have been officially authorized by the government of India for this purpose.
So these bodies act as trusted third-party verifiers of origin.
Exactly. They review the exporter's documentation and production processes to confirm the goods meet the specific rules of origin required under the relevant trade agreement or preference scheme before issuing the certificate.
Okay, that makes sense. Now that we've thoroughly covered all the documents detailing the goods themselves, let's move to the how. How do these goods actually get from point A to point B with the necessary paperwork for the journey?
Right, let's look at the documents related to the actual shipment process.
All right, now we're moving the goods. And the first critical document for that journey, acting as the official permission slip from customs to actually export, is the shipping bill. This sounds like the absolute gateway.
It is exactly that. The shipping bill is a mandatory document. Exporters must submit it, or the electronic data for it, to customs authorities to obtain permission to export goods. It's a truly crucial part of the process, acting as the primary gatekeeper for goods leaving the country legally.
And you mentioned earlier it's often computer-generated now.
Yes. Under modern computerized customs systems, like India's iScape portal, the exporter or their agent submits the data electronically, and the system generates the shipping bill. This enhances efficiency, reduces manual errors, and allows for faster risk assessment by customs.
So less paper pushing, more data flow. What's the official customs approval called on this document?
The critical customs endorsement, signifying official approval to proceed with the export, is called the Let Export Order. This is usually electronically applied or stamped on the shipping bill by the customs officer.
Let export. Clear enough.
Absolutely. Only after the shipping bill has received this Let Export Order are the goods officially allowed to be moved into the dock area or airport cargo terminal for loading onto the vessel or aircraft. It's the final customs clearance for departure.
So that let export order is literally the green light. How many copies are typically involved, even if generated electronically, and what are their functions?
Even in electronic systems, the concept of multiple copies for different purposes persists, often as different printouts or data feeds. Traditionally, the shipping bill was prepared in 5 copies. Each served a distinct purpose. 1. The customs copy, for the Customs Department's own record-keeping and audit trail.
Okay, customs keeps 1.
2. The drawback copy. This copy is essential if the exporter intends to claim a refund of duties paid on imported inputs used in manufacturing the exported goods, the duty drawback we mentioned.
For getting money back.
Right. 3. The export promotion copy. This might be needed to claim benefits under various government export incentive schemes like EPCG or advance authorization. Proof of export for scheme benefits.
For government schemes.
4. The port trust copy. This goes to the port authorities to allow the goods into the port area and for their loading records.
For the port operators.
And 5. The exporter's copy. This is for the exporter's own records, providing proof of export and the details of the customs clearance.
Makes sense. A copy for everyone who needs to know. And the types of shipping bills are also important, often color-coded for quick identification. That must be incredibly helpful for busy customs officials.
Oh, absolutely. The traditional color coding was a brilliant, simple visual cue to instantly signal the nature of the shipment and the applicable procedures. Let's run through them. First, the free shipping bill. Used when the goods being exported are not subject to any export duty or tax and not eligible for any duty drawback refund. The simplest case, this was traditionally printed on simple white paper.
White for free and clear. Got it.
Then, the dutiable shipping bill. Used when the goods do attract an export duty and are generally not eligible for a refund. Some goods might have export taxes. This was printed in yellow paper.
Yellow signifies duty payable.
Okay. Next, the drawback shipping bill. Used when a refund of duties, the duty drawback is allowed on the goods being exported. As we said, this refunds duties paid on imported inputs. Generally, this bill was printed in green paper.
Green for getting money? Drawback. The
Okay.
back. Makes sense.
But there's a nuance here. If the drawback claim amount was to be paid directly to the exporter's bank instead of the exporter themselves, then it was printed in yellow paper.
Yellow again. So yellow could mean duty payable or drawback paid to the bank.
Correct. A bit confusing, maybe, but that was the system. Green meant drawback to the exporter. Yellow meant either duty payable or drawback to the bank.
That's a very specific detail. Good to know.
What else? We also have the shipping bill for shipment X bond. This is used specifically for goods that were initially imported, stored in a customs bonded warehouse without paying import duty, and are now being re-exported. This bill was also printed in yellow paper.
Another yellow one for re-exports from bond. Okay.
Finally, there's the coastal shipping bill. This is used for shipments moved from one Indian port to another Indian port by sea within India, like Mumbai to Chennai by ship.
Purely domestic sea travel.
Exactly. And here's a critical point to remember. It is not an export document. It doesn't involve crossing international borders. It's purely for domestic coastal movement.
Good distinction. Not an export doc. And just to reiterate that point you made earlier, when goods are sent by sea, the main customs doc is the shipping bill.
And when they're sent by air, the equivalent document is generally called an airway bill, which often combines customs and transport functions.
Sea, shipping bill, air, airway bill. Got it.
Understanding these types and colors, even if systems are electronic now, helps understand the different customs treatments.
Precisely. It reflects the underlying logic.
Okay, the goods are processed, authorized with let export and heading towards the ship. What's the next piece of paper?
The mate's receipt.
Yes. Once the goods are physically loaded onto the ship, the mate's receipt comes into play. It's issued by the ship's mate, who is essentially the first officer, the captain's primary assistant for cargo operations.
So the ship's officer confirms receipt on board.
Exactly. It serves as a provisional acknowledgement that the goods, as described, have been received on board the vessel. It's a crucial link between the shoreside operations and the ship itself.
And I imagine the condition of the goods at the point of loading is critical here, right? Does the receipt reflect that?
Absolutely critical. This leads to two types of MATES receipts. A clean MATES receipt. This is what the exporter wants. The MATE issues this if the condition, quality, and packing of the goods appear, upon visual inspection during loading, to be proper and free from any visible defects or damage.
Looks good on the surface.
B, a qualified MATES receipt. This is the problematic one. It's issued if the MATE observes any issues and makes adverse remarks on the receipt. Examples could be packing torn, cartons crushed, barrels leaking, goods rust-stained.
Oh dear. So what's the consequence of getting a qualified MATES receipt?
It's significant because the MATES receipt is the document the shipping company uses as the basis for issuing the formal bill of lading. A qualified or dirty MATES receipt will almost certainly lead the shipping company to issue a claused or dirty bill of lading.
And a claused bill of lading is bad news.
Very bad news. As we'll see, banks usually refuse to accept a claused BL under a letter of credit, which means the exporter might not get paid. It also signals to the importer that the goods were potentially damaged before the main carriage began, leading to disputes.
So ensuring goods are properly packed and handled to get a clean MATES receipt is vital. Who actually gets this receipt first?
The process usually involves the mate handing the receipt first to the port trust authorities or their representatives overseeing the loading. They then hand it over to the exporter or their agent once the exporter has cleared all their port dues related to the shipment.
Okay, another checkpoint. Now, even before the goods get to the ship's side, they need to get into the port area itself. That's where the cart ticket, also known as a cart shit, comes in, right?
Correct. Think of the cart ticket or cart shit as the internal entry pass for the truck carrying the export goods into the port premises.
What information does it contain?
It's usually prepared by the exporter or their transport provider. It contains essential details for port gate control. The vehicle number, a brief description of the goods, the quantity, like number of packages, the name of the shipper, exporter, the crucial shipping bill number, as proof of customs processing, and the intended port of destination or vessel name.
And what happens at the port gate?
This cart ticket is presented to the port security or authorities at the entry gate. They verify the details against their records or the shipping bill information. If everything checks out, the gatekeeper, warden, or inspector issues a gate pass, physically allowing the vehicle entry into the port premises to proceed toward the designated loading berth or shed. It's a basic but critical security and traffic control measure within the busy port environment.
A necessary step for port logistics and security. And because shipping isn't free, someone needs to calculate the freight charges accurately. That involves the certificate of measurement.
Yes, freight costs are a major component of international trade, and they're often calculated based on either the actual weight of the cargo or its volume, dimensional weight, whichever yields a higher charge for the carrier. This is especially true for bulky but light goods.
Volumetric weight, right.
Exactly. The certificate of measurement provides the official, verified dimensions and weight needed for this calculation. It typically contains details like a description of the goods, the quantity number of packages, and the precise length, breadth, and depth, height of the packages, plus the gross weight. It might also list the name of the vessel.
Who issues this?
It can sometimes be issued by the exporter if the carrier accepts their declaration, but often it might be certified by a third-party surveyor or the carrier's representative, especially if there's doubt or if the cargo shape is irregular. Accuracy here is paramount. It prevents disputes over freight charges later on, which can be a common source of conflict.
Ensures everyone agrees on the chargeable size or weight. Good. Now, for arguably one of the most critical documents in sea freight, the document that embodies the shipment itself, the bill of lading, or BL. You called it the master of the seas. What makes it so indispensable?
Indeed, the bill of lading is multifaceted and incredibly powerful, especially in sea freight. It's a formal document issued by the shipping company, the carrier, or its authorized agent, and it performs three key distinct functions simultaneously. One, it's a receipt for the goods. It formally acknowledges that the carrier has received the specified cargo, usually described as being shipped on board a particular vessel.
Proof the carrier has the goods.
Two, it's a contract of carriage. It provides evidence of the agreement between the shipper and the carrier, outlining the terms and conditions under which the goods will be transported from the port of loading to the port of discharge. This includes the carrier's responsibilities and limitations of liability.
The transport agreement.
And most crucially, it's a document of title to the goods. This is unique to bills of lading compared to, say, airway bills. It means that the lawful holder of the original bill of lading has the legal right to claim possession of the goods at the destination. Ownership of the goods can effectively be transferred by transferring the BL.
Receipt, contract, and title. That's a lot of responsibility for one document. Who prepares it?
The exporter, or their agent, usually prepares the draft BL, filling in all the details onto a form provided by the shipping company. They submit this draft to the shipping company, who verifies the details, especially against the mate's receipt, regarding quantity and condition noted on board, and then issues the final official bills of lading.
And how many originals are there?
Critically, the BL is typically issued in a signed set of 2 or 3 originals. Usually it's 3. But the key is that they are originals, each bearing an original signature or stamp. Any one of these originals can be used to claim the goods. Once one original is surrendered to the carrier at destination to claim the goods, the other originals become void.
So possessing just one original gives you the right to the cargo.
Yes, possession of one properly endorsed original BL signifies title. The shipping company also issues several unsigned copies, often marked copy not negotiable. These are not documents of title. They serve only as records for the shipper, consignee, banks, etc. Only the signed originals carry the power of title.
2 or 3 signed originals, any one of which can transfer title. That's a powerful concept. Now, just like with the mate's receipt, the condition noted on the BL is vital. You mentioned clean versus claused, and there are other types too, right? Each with specific implications.
Oh, yes. The different types of BLs are crucial to understand, as they carry very specific meanings and consequences. 1. Received for shipment BL versus onboard ship BL. Received for shipment means the carrier has custody of the goods, maybe in their port warehouse, but they are not yet confirmed as loaded onto the specific vessel named. Onboard shipped, or just shipped on board, confirms the goods have been loaded onto the named vessel. This distinction is critical for payment under LCs, which usually require on board, and for determining when risk transfers under Incoterms like FOB.
On board is the definitive one for loading.
2. Clean BL versus claused dirty BL. As we discussed, a clean BL indicates no apparent defect in the goods or packaging at the time of receipt by the carrier. This is the standard expectation. A claused or dirty BL has remarks added by the carrier noting defects. For example, bale number 5, hook damaged, crates broken, packaging stained. This is a red flag. Banks will almost always reject a claused BL when negotiating documents under a letter of credit, as it indicates a problem with the goods before shipment.
Clean BL is essential for LC payment, a huge point.
3. Transshipment BL, or through BL. This covers carriage involving more than one mode of transport or more than one vessel. For example, goods might go by a smaller feeder vessel, then be transshipped onto a larger ocean vessel, possibly followed by road or rail to an inland destination. This BL covers the entire journey.
For multi-leg journeys.
4. Stale BL. This isn't a type issued by the carrier, but a condition it falls into. A BL becomes stale if it's presented to the negotiating bank, under an LC, later than a stipulated period after the date of shipment, typically 21 days according to International Banking Practice, UCP 600. Banks can reject stale BLs because the delay suggests goods might arrive before the documents, causing issues for the importer.
21 days, a key deadline to remember for exporters needing bank payment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
5. To order BL. This is highly significant for transferability. It's issued to order or to order of shipper or to order of a named bank. This means the ownership can be transferred by the party named, the shipper or the bank, simply endorsing the back of the BL, much like endorsing a check. This makes the goods easily sellable while in transit.
Makes it transferable.
6. Charter party BL. This type is issued when the goods are shipped on a vessel that has been chartered, rented, for a specific voyage or period, often for bulk commodities like grain or oil. It references the separate charter party contract, and banks are often cautious with these as the terms might be complex.
For chartered ships.
7. Freight paid BL versus freight collect BL. Simply indicates whether the shipping freight charges have been paid by the shipper at the port of loading, freight paid or freight prepaid, or if they are to be collected from the consignee at the port of destination, freight collect. This depends on the sales contract terms, Incoterms.
Who pays the freight? Okay, that's a lot of types, each conveying critical information about the shipment's status, condition, and payment terms.
They really do. Understanding these nuances is vital for anyone involved in international shipping.
So let's clarify that point about negotiability versus transferability. You mentioned it's a subtle but important legal distinction.
It is indeed subtle, and often sources use the terms loosely, but the strict legal distinction is important. A bill of lading is not a truly negotiable instrument in the same way a check or a promissory note is under laws like the Negotiable Instruments Act. A holder in due course of a true negotiable instrument takes it free from defects in the title of previous holders. This isn't quite the case with the BL.
Okay, so not fully negotiable like a check,
But it is a transferable document of title. This means the ownership, or the right to claim the goods, can be transferred from one party to another, typically by endorsing the back of the BL, if it's not an order BL, and physically delivering it to the new holder.
So ownership can change hands.
Yes. This crucial characteristic is what enables the importer, or potentially multiple subsequent buyers, to sell the goods even while they are still at sea, simply by transferring the BL. This facilitates trade finance and liquidity in the supply chain immensely.
That's fascinating. The goods can literally be bought and sold mid-ocean just by passing this piece of paper. So what essential information must a bill of lading contain to fulfill all these complex functions?
To be valid and functional, a BL needs to contain quite specific details covering all critical aspects of the shipment. 1. Name and address of the shipper, exporter, consignor. 2. Name and address of the vessel carrying the goods. 3. Name of the port of loading. 4. Date of loading or shipment, often captured in the shipped on board notation. 5. Name of the port of discharge and the intended final place of delivery, if different. 6. Name and address of the consignee, the party to whom goods are shipped or to order. 7. Marks and numbers identifying the packages. 8. Quantity, type of packages, e.g. cartons, bales, and a description of the goods as declared by shipper. 9. Gross weight and the volume of the cargo. 10. Indication of whether freight is paid or collect. 11. The number of original bills of lading issued, for example, set of 33. 12. The carrier's signature or that of their authorized agent. 13. Sometimes the voyage number and date of issue.
That's a comprehensive list. It really paints a full picture of the shipment. So given its critical role as a document of title, who actually has the legal standing to lodge a claim against the shipping company if something goes wrong, say goods are damaged or lost during transit?
That's a key point tied to its function. The bill of lading is the primary evidence required to file a claim against the shipping company for non-delivery, short delivery missing items, or delivery of damaged goods. The party who can lodge the claim is the one who holds the title to the goods at the time the loss or damage occurred or is discovered.
So usually the importer, once they have the BL.
Typically, yes. If the importer has paid for the goods or accepted liability under the contract terms and is in possession of at least one original, properly endorsed bill of lading, they are considered the rightful owner and thus the party with the legal standing to lodge a claim directly against the shipping company or their insurers. This is why controlling those original BLs is so crucial until payment is secured.
Absolutely. The transferable nature empowers the rightful holder to take action. Now, that covers sea freight extensively. What about when goods fly? We have the airway bill, AWB, sometimes called the air consignment note. How does this differ fundamentally from a bill of lading?
The airway bill, AWB, is the primary document used for the transport of goods by air. It's issued by the airline or its agent and serves as a receipt for the goods and as evidence of the contract of carriage. However, there's a massive difference from the BL.
Which is?
It is not a document of title. This is the absolute key distinction. Consequently, the consignee named on the AWB can claim the goods from the airline at the destination airport without needing to present the original AWB. They usually just need to provide proper identification.
No original needed for pickup. Why the difference?
It reflects the speed of air transport. Air cargo moves incredibly fast, often arriving within hours or a day or two. Requiring the physical transfer of an original document across the globe to claim the goods would negate the speed advantage. So, the AWB functions primarily as a receipt and contract, but not title. This allows for much quicker release of goods upon arrival, fitting the logistics of air freight.
That's a crucial distinction reflecting the different needs of sea versus air transport. Speed versus title control. Okay, finally, as goods enter the destination country, the importer faces their own customs authority. That's where the bill of entry comes in. This must be the mirror image of the exporter's shipping bill, right?
Exactly. The bill of entry is the primary declaration form that the importer or their authorized customs clearing agent must submit to the customs authorities of the importing country. It's their formal statement declaring the details of the imported goods for customs clearance and duty assessment purposes.
Is there a specific regulation governing it?
Yes. In India, for example, it's filed under the bill of entry. Forms, regulations, 1976, which amended earlier rules often cited as 1971. It's a legally mandated form. When goods arrive, customs duty often has to be paid, and the bill of entry is the basis for calculating that duty. It declares the value, quantity, description, origin, tariff classification, etc. of the imported goods.
How many copies are needed?
It's typically prepared in multiple copies, often in triplicate or even quadruplicate electronically. Copies are needed for customs assessment, for the importer's records, sometimes for the port authorities, and potentially for the bank if payment is involved, or for statistical purposes like RBI.
And customs will likely want proof of the declared value, right?
Absolutely. Customs authorities have the right to verify the details. They may ask the importer to produce supporting documents like the exporter's commercial invoice, the packing list, the bill of lading or AWB, the insurance policy, maybe import licenses, certificates of origin, and potentially broker's notes or other evidence of value to ensure the declared value, on which duty is calculated, is accurate and not understated.
Standard checks and balances. And how are goods typically classified on a bill of entry for customs duty purposes? This must significantly impact the importer's costs.
It absolutely does. Goods are generally classified into three main categories on the bill of entry, which determines how they are treated for duty payment and clearance. 1. Goods for home consumption. These are goods intended for immediate clearance into the domestic market after assessment and payment of all applicable customs duties and taxes. The importer pays the duty, and the goods are released.
Pay duty, take goods home. Simple.
2. Goods for warehousing, bonded goods. These are goods on which customs duty is payable, but the importer chooses to defer the payment by storing the goods in a customs-controlled bonded warehouse. The importer files an inter-bond bill of entry. Duty is only paid later when the goods are removed from the warehouse for sale using an ex-bond bill of entry. This allows importers to manage cash flow and inventory.
Store now, pay duty later. Flexible.
3. Duty-free goods. Some goods might be exempt from customs duty altogether due to their nature, origin under a trade agreement, or specific government exemptions. For these, a bill of entry is still required for clearance and statistical purposes, but no duty is levied.
No duty payable. The best kind. This classification is clearly critical for the importer's bottom line and logistics planning.
Without a doubt. It dictates the immediate cash outlay and how the goods are handled upon arrival.
Okay, incredible. We've successfully navigated the complex journey of getting goods documented, shipped, and through both export and import customs. Now, the equally crucial part. How do we make sure the money moves correctly and securely? Let's talk about the documents related to payment.
Right. Securing payment is, after all, the ultimate goal for the exporter.
When it comes to international trade, especially dealing with new or unfamiliar partners across continents, trust, or the lack thereof, can be a huge issue. That's precisely where the letter of credit, or LC, becomes so indispensable, isn't it? How does it provide such critical security?
The LC is truly a cornerstone of international trade finance, specifically designed to bridge that trust gap. It's essentially a conditional guarantee of payment issued by a bank, usually the importer's bank, on behalf of the importer.
A bank guarantee, how does it work?
The bank acts as a trusted, independent intermediary. It formally undertakes or commits to paying the exporter a specified amount of money within a specified time, provided that the exporter presents a specific set of documents that strictly comply with all the terms and conditions stipulated in the letter of credit itself.
Strict compliance is the key phrase there.
Absolutely. The bank deals in documents, not goods. If the documents match the LC requirements perfectly, the bank must pay, regardless of any dispute between the buyer and seller about the goods themselves.
So it shifts the risk.
Exactly. It shifts the primary payment risk away from the importer, whose creditworthiness or willingness to pay might be unknown or uncertain, onto the issuing bank, and potentially a confirming bank in the exporter's country, which is usually a reputable institution whose promise to pay carries much more weight internationally. This gives the exporter immense security and confidence to ship the goods, enabling trade that might otherwise be considered far too risky.
It's essentially the bank's solemn promise to pay, as long as you, the exporter, meticulously follow the instructions and present perfect documents. Huge confidence booster. Then we have another crucial instrument, often used in conjunction with LCs or on its own. The Bill of Exchange, or BE.
Yes, the Bill of Exchange, sometimes called a draft, is another fundamental payment instrument in international trade. It's formally defined as an instrument in writing containing an unconditional undertaking, signed by the maker, directing a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person, or to the bearer of the instrument.
Okay, that's the legal definition in simple terms.
It's basically a written order from one party, usually the exporter, instructing another party, usually the importer or their bank, to pay a specified sum of money, either immediately or on a fixed future date. The unconditional part is key. The instruction to pay isn't supposed to be dependent on other conditions outside the bill itself, providing a degree of legal certainty.
A formal, written order to pay. Who are the key players involved in a bill of exchange transaction? It sounds like there could be several roles.
Yes, understanding the parties is crucial for tracing the payment flow. There are typically up to 5 parties involved. 1, the drawer. This is the person who creates or draws the bill, usually the exporter, who is entitled to receive the payment.
The one asking for the money?
2, the draw. This is the person or entity on whom the bill is drawn, the one being ordered to pay, usually the importer, or very often under an LC, the importer's bank.
The one who has to pay.
3, the payee. This is the person to whom the payment is actually to be made. It could be the drawer themselves, or they might nominate a third party, like their own bank, to receive the funds.
The one who gets the cash.
4, the endorser. If the bill is transferable, like an order bill, this is a holder who signs the back of the bill to transfer their rights to someone else.
Signing over.
5, the endorsee. This is the person to whom the bill is endorsed or transferred. They become the new holder with the right to receive payment or further endorse it.
Draw, payee, endorser, endorsee.
Got it.
5 potential roles.
And just like with bills of lading, there are different types of bills of exchange, right? Tailored for specific payment timing and conditions.
Absolutely. The type fundamentally affects when and how payment is made. 1, site bill of exchange, also called a demand bill of exchange. This requires the draw to make payment immediately upon presentation or at site. There's no credit period involved. It's effectively pay now.
Pay on demand.
Yeah.
Immediate. 2, use-since bill of exchange, also called a time bill of exchange. This allows for deferred payment. Payment is due on a future maturity date, after a specified period called the tenor, for G, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. This tenor can be calculated in 2 main ways. After site, meaning the days start counting from the date the drawee formally accepts the bill, or after date, meaning the days start counting from the date the bill was drawn or issued. This provides trade credit to the importer.
Pay later, offering credit. The distinction between site immediate and use-since deferred payment is obviously fundamental for structuring the deal's credit terms.
Hugely important. Then there's another distinction. 3, clean bill of exchange. This is a BE sent for payment without any accompanying commercial or shipping documents, like the BL or invoice. These documents are sent separately. This usually happens only when there's a high degree of trust between the exporter and importer, or maybe for non-trade related payments.
Just the payment order, no supporting docs attached, trust-based.
4, documentary bill of exchange. This is much more common in international trade. The bill of exchange is accompanied by the relevant shipping and commercial documents. Typically, these documents are only released to the importer by the collecting bank after the importer either pays the bill, if it's a site bill, known as Documents Against Payment or DP, or formally accepts the bill, promising to pay at maturity, if it's a use-since bill, known as Documents Against Acceptance or DA. This provides security for the exporter.
So the documents needed to claim the goods are held hostage until payment or acceptance is made. That makes sense for security. Okay, then there's the trust receipt. This sounds like something used when the importer needs the goods but maybe can't pay immediately, bridging a payment gap.
That's precisely its function. The trust receipt, TR, is a specific financing arrangement, often used in conjunction with documentary bills or LCs, particularly when the importer needs to take possession of the goods before paying the bank, usually in order to sell them and generate the funds needed for payment.
How does that work legally?
If the importer can't pay the bank upon arrival of the document shipment, but the bank trusts them, the importer executes a trust receipt in favor of the bank. By signing the TR, the importer acknowledges receiving the goods, or the documents of title like the BL, allowing them to get the goods, but also acknowledges that legal title to the goods remains with the bank. The importer essentially holds the goods in trust for the bank.
So the bank still owns the goods, legally.
Yes. The importer then have the right to process or sell the goods, but acts as an agent or trustee for the bank. They are obligated to remit the proceeds of the sale, up to the amount owed, directly to the bank to settle their debt. It's a crucial mechanism allowing importers working capital flexibility, enabling them to convert the imported goods into cash to meet their payment obligations. It relies heavily on the bank's trust in the importer's reliability.
A vital tool for importer cash flow. based on trust. And finally, in the payment section, we have the bank certificate of payment. What's its purpose? Is it just a receipt?
It's a bit more formal and significant than just a simple receipt. This is a certificate issued by the negotiating bank, the exporter's bank, or the bank handling the payment collection, directly to the exporter. It officially confirms that payment for a specific export shipment has been received and processed according to the agreed terms.
What details does it include?
It usually indicates key details of the merchandise exported, like invoice number, value, date, and confirms the amount and date of payment received. Its main purpose is often for the exporter to comply with exchange control regulations or requirements related to discharging export obligations. For example, in India, exporters need proof of payment realization to submit to the RBI, often via their bank, to close the transaction record associated with the GR form we mentioned earlier.
Ah, so it's official proof for the government or central bank that the foreign currency has actually come into the country as expected.
Exactly. It serves as that crucial official record, closing the loop on the export transaction from a regulatory and financial perspective.
Okay, fantastic. We've covered the goods, the shipment, and the payment documentation. But what about ensuring the quality of the goods meets standards and dealing with specific internal taxes like excise duty? Let's look at documents for inspection and excisable goods next.
Right, quality control and domestic tax compliance are also key parts of the puzzle.
Quality is paramount, isn't it? Especially when you're competing internationally. A country's reputation can hang on the quality of its exports. For that, we have the Certificate of Inspection. What's its origin and why is it so vital?
This certificate is typically issued by the Export Inspection Agency, EIA, or a similar government-recognized inspection body. It formally certifies that the specific consignment of goods has been inspected according to the procedures laid down under the Export Quality Control and Inspection Act, 1963 in India, or similar legislation elsewhere.
So it's legally mandated.
For many categories of goods, yes. The government notifies certain products that must undergo mandatory pre-shipment inspection to ensure they meet minimum quality, safety, or technical standards before they can be exported. This protects the importer from receiving substandard or unsafe products, and perhaps more importantly, it safeguards the reputation of the exporting country and its industries in the global marketplace. The specific Act of 1963 gives it significant legal weight.
So it's not just about buyer satisfaction, but about national credibility and avoiding trade disputes related to quality. Then we have the GP forms, which you mentioned stand for Gate Pass. These seem related to internal taxes, specifically excise duty. They're issued for removing excisable goods from a factory or warehouse. Can you differentiate between GP1 and GP2?
Yes, this distinction is crucial for domestic excise compliance. Excisable goods are those subject to central excise duty, an internal tax levied on manufacturing. 1. GP1, Gate Pass 1. This form is issued for the removal of excisable goods from the factory or warehouse on payment of duty. This signifies that the applicable excise duty has been paid to the government, and the goods are cleared for removal, possibly for domestic sale or sometimes for export where duty is paid first and then claimed back, drawback.
GP1 means duty paid.
Okay. 2 P's, B-Trust 2. This form is issued for the removal of excisable goods without payment of duty. This is typically used when goods are being removed specifically for export under bond or undertaking, as export goods are generally exempt from domestic excise duty to make them internationally competitive. It allows the goods to move out for export without the duty burden.
GP2 means duty not paid, usually because it's for export.
Got it. So these forms track the movement of goods subject to internal tax and whether that tax applies or is exempted for export.
Precisely. It's about internal tax accountability. Next up is Form C. This also seems related to excise duty rebates.
Yes, Form C is, or was, a specific application form used for claiming a rebate of excise duty paid on excisable goods that are subsequently exported by sea. It's another mechanism to ensure domestic taxes don't burden exports.
So if you paid duty, maybe moved goods under GP1, but then exported them by sea, you could use Form C to get the duty back.
That's the principle. However, it's important to note there were specific exclusions mentioned. This particular rebate mechanism might not have applied to exports of certain goods like vegetables, non-essential oils, and tea. This form was submitted in triplicate to the jurisdictional collector of central excise, or equivalent authority, to process the rebate claim.
Triplicate copies again. And those exclusions, vegetables, non-essential oils, tea, show how nuanced these tax rules can be, right? Different sectors get different treatments.
Absolutely. Tax and rebate systems are often highly specific.
And similar to some other forms we've discussed, the main excise forms for export clearance have also evolved over time.
Yes, that's right. You might still encounter references to older forms. Historically, forms ARA were used for the removal of excisable goods for export, specifically by sea or post respectively, usually under claim for rebate or under bond.
Okay, ARA and ARA were the old ones. What replaced them?
These have largely been superseded in an effort to streamline and modernize the process. Now, the primary standardized form used for clearing excisable goods for export, usually without payment of duty under bond undertaking, is the ARE1 form, application for removal of excisable goods for export.
ARE1 is the current standard.
Yes, ARE1 is the key form exporters dealing with excisable goods need to be familiar with now. It consolidates the process and aligns with electronic filing systems. It again highlights the dynamic nature of documentation, always updating to improve efficiency or adapt to policy changes.
Constant evolution. Okay, now that we've covered quality control and excise, let's turn to the final crucial area, the official oversight. How do governments, specifically the central bank, monitor the inflow and outflow of foreign exchange? This is critical for national economies.
Absolutely. Managing foreign exchange reserves and ensuring export earnings actually come back into the country is a vital function of economic governance.
The movement of money across borders is just as heavily scrutinized as the movement of goods, perhaps even more so sometimes. That brings us to the GR form, you mentioned this earlier, prescribed by the RBI.
Yes, the GR form is an absolutely vital exchange control document required by the Reserve Bank of India, RBI. Its full name relates to guaranteed remittance.
What's its main purpose?
It's the primary tool used by the RBI to track foreign exchange earnings expected from the export of goods. It's required to be filled out, traditionally in duplicate, for almost all exports of goods in physical form, with the main exception being goods exported by post, which have different forms.
Okay, physical exports, not by post. In duplicate, what happens with the copies?
The exporter, or their agent, submits both copies of the GR form to the customs authorities, along with the shipping bill at the time of export. Customs verifies the details, assigns a unique serial number to both copies for tracking, retains one copy for a period, and crucially, sends the original GR form directly to the RBI.
The original goes straight to the central bank.
Yes, that original GR form arriving at the RBI serves as an official notification that goods of a certain value have been exported. This creates an obligation in the RBI's records against that exporter to ensure the corresponding foreign exchange payment is realized, within a stipulated time frame.
So the RBI gets the heads up and waits for the money to come in. It's a key monitoring tool.
A primary tool for monitoring and regulating the inflow of foreign currency, essential for managing the balance of payments, currency stability, and preventing unauthorized capital outflows disguised as exports.
Makes sense. What about exports specifically made by post? You said they use different forms.
That's right. For exports by post parcel, the main form is the PP form.
PP for post parcel.
Presumably, yes. This form is required to be filled in, again, usually in duplicate, for all export transactions by post parcel to all countries. It serves the same fundamental purpose as the GR form tracking expected foreign exchange earnings. However, there are specific exceptions.
Exceptions to the PP form.
Yes. It's generally not required when the postal export is made on a value payable, VP, or cash on delivery, COD basis.
Ah, because the payment mechanism is different for those.
Exactly. For those specific scenarios where payment is collected by the Postal Service upon delivery.
There's another form.
Yes, that leads directly to the VP CO'd form. This form is specifically required to be filled out for all export transactions sent by post to any country where the payment is arranged to be collected on a value payable or cash on delivery basis. Since the payment flows back through the postal system initially, this form ensures that these specific proceeds are also tracked correctly for exchange control purposes by the RBI.
Covering all the bases for postal exports. Now, in our increasingly digital world, a huge amount of exports aren't physical goods at all. What about exports of services or intangibles like computer software? How is that tracked?
An excellent point. Recognizing the massive growth in software and IT service exports, the system adapted. For this, we have the SoftText form.
SoftText for software exports.
Exactly. This form is specifically required to be prepared, typically in triplicate, for the export of computer software in non-physical form. That means software delivered electronically downloaded, accessed online, etc., rather than shipped on a CD or other physical media.
How does that work?
The exporter submits the SoftText form, along with supporting documents like invoices, to designated authorities, often through authorized banks or special technology parks like STPI. This allows the RBI to track the substantial foreign exchange earnings generated by India's IT and software services sector, even though no physical goods cross the border. It highlights how regulatory frameworks must evolve to capture new forms of economic activity.
Triplicate copies for non-physical software exports. It really shows the system adapting. So what's the overall unifying purpose of all these different foreign exchange documents we've just discussed, the GR, PP, VP, CO, and SOFTEX forms?
Ultimately, despite their different specific applications, physical goods, post, CR, software, all these documents serve the single, overarching purpose of enabling the RBI to monitor the realization of export proceeds in the stipulated manner and time frame,
Ensuring the money comes back.
ensuring the country receives the foreign currency it's rightfully earned from its exports. They are critical components of India's and other countries' economic governance framework. They safeguard financial stability, help manage currency reserves, provide vital data for economic planning, and ensure compliance with foreign exchange regulations. They are the silent sentinels watching over the nation's financial health in the global marketplace.
What an incredible, detailed journey through the paper trail, or perhaps increasingly, the data trail of international trade. From a simple inquiry to goods delivered halfway across the world and payments securely received, it's clear that it's anything but simple underneath. It's a complex symphony of documents, each playing a critical, often legally binding role.
It really is a complex ecosystem.
We've peeled back the layers of the aligned documentation system today, haven't we? From its surprisingly early, visionary origins in Sweden back in the mid-1960s,
Quite forward-thinking for the time.
to its crucial, enduring role in streamlining global trade. We've seen how those foundational master documents could simplify a complex process, enabling the creation of, 14 out of 16 commercial documents,
And 3 key regulatory ones, like the GR form and shipping bill.
all from a single data entry, using clever techniques like masking reproduction.
And we've delved into that seemingly endless array of commercial, regulatory, shipment, payment, inspection, and foreign exchange documents, each playing its unique, often legally critical part.
From the color-coded shipping bills, white, yellow, green, offering immediate visual cues to customs.
To the absolute intricacies of the bill of lading and sea freight, acting as that vital receipt, contract, and document of title issued in sets of originals.
We've highlighted crucial details like that 21-day window for presenting a bill of lading to the bank to avoid it becoming stale.
And the absolute necessity for banks negotiating under a letter of credit to receive a clean bill of lading, not a claused one.
The ultimate takeaway from this deep dive, I think, is that behind every successful international transaction lies this meticulously prepared and, importantly, understood paper trail.
Or data trail, increasingly.
Right. These documents aren't just bureaucratic hurdles or tedious forms to be ticked off. They are intricate instruments of trust, transparency, risk management, and compliance.
They enable goods and money to flow with some degree of predictability and security across borders, connecting economies, businesses, and ultimately cultures. They represent a hard-won global consensus on how complex international business gets done. It's that silent architecture underpinning our interconnected world.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, this documentation framework, born decades ago and constantly adapting, is what allows for the predictable and secure movement of literally trillions of dollars worth of goods around the globe every single year.
Absolutely. Without this structured approach, global trade as we know it would simply seize up. It's really a testament to human ingenuity in tackling complex logistical, financial, and regulatory challenges on a global scale.
So a final thought for you, our listeners. Next time you see a product that's come from a faraway land, maybe it's the clothes you're wearing, the phone in your hand, the coffee you're drinking, consider not just the incredible physical journey it took to get to you,
Thousands of miles, potentially.
but also the silent symphony of documents, the intricate data flow that made that journey possible, secure, and legal. And maybe ponder this. What other aspects of global logistics, or even other complex systems, do you think could benefit from a similar deep dive into their hidden complexities and brilliant simplifications?
And perhaps, looking forward, how might emerging technologies like blockchain or AI further revolutionize these very paper trails we've discussed today? Could they finally eliminate the need for some of these documents altogether?
That's definitely a thought to ponder. What will the future of trade documentation look like? Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you feel a little more like an insider in the fascinating and frankly absolutely essential world of export-import documentation.
Thanks for listening. There's always more to learn about the unseen forces shaping our world.
Until next time.